in the end, it's a decision. Happiness is a decision. I am not always happy.
Sure.
And if I talk to other people, they say, "Oh, you are so lucky because you have all that freedom." Yeah, but with that freedom, there are other problems. I mean, right now, today, maybe you hear the wind howling in the background. We have a really big storm. It's probably lasting for 3 days. It's hitting the boat from the sides. My boat is shaking. I'm about to get seasick while being in a harbor, and it's really difficult to work. You need all that maintenance. You have that little space.
Sure.
Maintaining your business without any routine or office to go to is sometimes difficult, and you have a lot of insecurities. So if you think happiness is once I have a certain mindset, once I have a certain amount of freedom, once I have a certain amount of money, and then I'm happy, that will not be the case.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the podcast where our goal is to inspire you to live your best audacious life ever. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time to be here out of your busy schedule. It's so much is appreciated. Now, when we talk about finding our purpose, it can be very much likened to embarking on a journey towards the horizon where the destination is unknown, but the experience along the way shape and define who you become. And that's why it's so important to keep taking that one step in front of the other and move forward. Florian Hornig is a seasoned coach and motivational speaker with a passion for helping individuals break free from limiting beliefs and discover true happiness in their lives. He's the founder of Simplicity of Happiness and has a wealth of experience in guiding others towards fulfilling their potential. In this episode, Florian shares his personal experience of leaving behind a corporate career to live on a sailboat. We'll hear about his sailboat and the life on that as he pursued a life of meaning and joy. His insights into finding happiness and embracing change are invaluable for anyone seeking to live authentically and purposely. I assure you that you'll absolutely appreciate so much of what Florian has to say. So without any further ado, here he is. Hey, Florian, thank you for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. It is a pleasure to connect with you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for being on my boat, where we just found out that it's shaking and shifting all of the time.
Yeah. So you live on a boat, yeah, which is a great life, I would imagine. Freeing, I would imagine too, so to speak. But we'll talk about that in a bit as well as a bunch of other things, because we on this podcast we spend so much time encouraging individuals to live their best audacious lives and to make that choice and shed the limiting beliefs and all the things that hold us back. And as a coach in the coaching space that you're in, those are some of the things that you also support and also believe in as well. So there's some great synergies, and I think maybe as a starting point, if you maybe could describe for our listeners a little bit about the work that you do and sort of how you landed where you did, including in the boat.
Okay, no, I can't. Quite simple. I can't. That's taking way too long. Because it was not planned on a scratch board. I did not have the plan when I was 20 to end up right here where I am today. In fact, I did not know where I want to go at all. So looking back from my point in life where I am right now, I can see that back then there was so much peer pressure, expectation from society, expectation from parents. Although my parents didn't put the pressure on me directly, but they had certain belief structures, like what is a good life? Should you study? Should you have a family? Should you have a good job? Should you pay into your pension system? And should you have the house with the lawn somewhere and the dog? And so now I have a dog, but I'm living on the boat. And at some point, I I was absolutely unhappy with myself. I used to work as a headhunter
Okay.
for an American company based in Berlin. It was the time of placing all these finance positions before Lehman Brothers went broke, and then Lehman Brothers did go broke, and all of a sudden, all these people that I placed the year before that
Mm-hmm.
had really good income, all of a sudden they were out of a job, and they were
Mm.
scared because they had a mortgage to pay off. They just bought a new car. They had their second child. Their wife had or their partner had expectations and all of that. And so they were all
Right.
of a sudden, they were absolutely fearful. And I questioned myself how they got into that situation. And all of a sudden I realized it does not matter whether you have 5 million on your bank account and you worry to lose 7 million, or whether you have 10,000 on your bank account and you worry to lose 15,000. I mean, there's always the same kind of fear. And I questioned their motivation structure, how they got there. And then
Right.
I started to shift slowly, but consequently to become a coach. And I got more and more interested in the personal motivation of each of these individuals. And then, because I did the coaching, I had to answer some of the tough questions myself. And I
Mm.
found out I do not want that corporate job. I do not want to live in an office. My eyes are smiling, my face is smiling, my heart is smiling when I'm out in the world, when I can travel, when I'm out in nature, when I can see places. And I wanted to be in the south. I wanted to be on the ocean, and I had that dream that one day I want to live on a sailboat. And then a lot of other things happened, but there was an internal shift, because at that point when I had everything and I
Mm-hmm.
was not happy with it, I refocused, and all of a sudden my unconscious mind pointed me towards direction like, hey, that's a chance, go for that. And
Right.
I got beaten up along the way. You can
Sure.
believe that.
Oh,
And
sure. Sure.
and these days I'm working 100% video conference based. Um, from my sailboat, I have Starlink on board, so I can work from wherever I want. I'm about to sail into the Caribbean later this year, and that will be the only issue for me is time zones. And I'm coaching most of the time people in some kind of leadership positions, either CEOs or middle management, and it's mostly around communication. But what I really, really love to do
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is talk to somebody who has the feeling that he is not where he wants to be,
Mm. Mm.
because that can create a really big motivation
Sure.
for change if they find out what it
Absolutely.
is that they really want.
Absolutely. And so much of that is tied to our happiness, Florian, like, in terms
Yeah.
of the things that we want. And so really, what I'm hearing from what you're describing is that chase, that pursuit of happiness, right? Like, how do I get happy, and what needs to happen, or what in my life isn't bringing me the joy that I need? And
Yeah.
and to sort of go through that process, the analyzation process, it's a bit of a deep dive, isn't it?
No, it's not a bit of a bit. It's not a bit of a deep dive. That is a
Yeah.
constant deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I called my company Simplicity of Happiness,
Okay.
because in the end, most people want to be happy.
Mm.
And if you ask the manager why he does all of that, and if you boil it down, keep asking, and why do you do that? Why do you do that? Why do you want to have the money? Why do you want to have the company? Why do you want to grow? Why do you want to outgrow the competitor? Because in the end, they want to feel happy.
Right.
And happiness does not come from adding stuff. Most of the times, and this took me quite a while to figure that out, the when you are able to live a moment worry-free,
Mm-hmm.
that your mind is not distracted by anything else, but that you can be completely present in that moment, interact with another person, see a beautiful sunset. I mean, all these,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
typical things, they actually work. And in such a moment, in that moment, people tend to be happy. And then you ask them, so why don't you strive for that? And then they come with the reasons. Oh, I need to have the money so that I can afford that much more often. I need to have the safety because what happens when I'm old or what happens when I'm sick? I need to have that, well, structure for my kids, for my partner, whatsoever. And what happens is they are out of the moment and they are
Right.
worrying about the future.
Yeah.
And I was looking for more possibilities to create more of these moments, and I found out that all these possessions that I had were distracting me because all of a sudden
Mm.
I had to pay for them, I had to care for them, I had to
Yes.
manage them, I had to make sure that they are insured or not stolen or that the
Yeah.
devices are updated. And there is a movement in the United States called minimalism. And some friends of mine, they have a website called the minimalists.com,
Okay.
and they give really good advice on how to downsize
Mm.
without downsizing their life.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
downsize,
It's
and that is
huge.
the big difference. It
Yeah.
does not mean your life is worth less. No,
No.
exactly the opposite. What you're downsizing is the distraction
Yes.
from what makes you happy in the first place. And the more you let go of that, the more focus and the more energy you have to focus on what
Yeah.
makes you really happy. And what
Florian,
happens next is,
sorry for it, but that really is next to the point. I want to hear what happens next, but I wanted to also just to talk about. I mean, we get so caught up in material possessions, like the chase or the goal is to get this thing, right?
so
And then
who's
yeah,
we?
yeah, I said in the collective sense. I mean, individuals rather that they're out chasing these things, or they feel that this is what I should be after because of what's happening in the broader society. Like we get caught up into the shine, if you will, of
Yeah,
these things that are out there.
yeah. I think it's the problem is not the person being
Okay.
caught up in material stuff.
Okay.
It's the the expectation of society. It
Yes.
is a culture that we created,
We
and
have.
owning stuff is not a problem. I wrote an article once where I said you can only be a minimalist if you are a real what did I call it, martialist or something like this. So you need to value stuff in order to let go of a lot of other things, because if you're just accumulating and putting the next device in the corner, then this is not then it's not valuing the possession that you have. But the moment that you do, you really focus on what do I want to have, what do I want to own in my life, what is adding value. And if it's not adding value, let go of this and give it to somebody else who can create the value.
Yeah.
And the next thing is the mental shift, because we have, I mean, the need of material stuff comes from belief systems. And these belief systems are also learned from early childhood on. And if you can let go of these, then you have the chance to become a free mind. And
Mm.
I got much better in this over the last 15 years, but I still see all these obstacles. And I love stuff. I
Sure.
love
Sure.
gadgets. I have
Sure.
my race bike on the boat because I want to go out and ride my bike here on the island. But I really question myself: do I need the race bike and the mountain bike and another bike and a motorbike, or which one is the one I would, if all the other ones were not there, which is the one I would like to ride the most?
Right.
And that's the one I keep with me.
Nice, nice. No, and I think even going to that question, like questioning things, I think there's a value in that because it really gives you the opportunity to make that discernment Is this for me or not? And I think that's a really healthy exercise to go through for individuals, because we I think it's very easy to get caught in that trap of stuff. Right? It's not hard at all. And if you're conscious about it, and it's like and using your bike as an example, I think if you're conscious about it, I think that's one of the ways you can help sort of shed or free yourself. If that makes sense.
And is it about owning stuff, or is it about using stuff?
Right.
And there's another quote which I really love. That is, use things, not people, because the other way never works.
Youth.
So
Give that one to me again. I want to make sure I got it.
use things, not people, because the other way never works.
Okay.
So often we are using people to get more possessions, and then we accumulate them and we own the possessions.
Right.
And in the end, they own us because we can't use all of them. And if you look at all the material stuff that you have and ask yourself, do I own it or do I use it?
Use it.
And use the stuff, and then have people in your life, own friendships.
Got you. Yeah, I can see that. Don't own it. Absolutely. Because I think that's really one step closer to happiness, is it not?
In the end, it's a decision. Happiness is a decision. I am not always happy.
Sure.
And if I talk to other people, they say, oh, you are so lucky because you have all that freedom. Yeah, but with that freedom, there are other problems. I mean, right now, today, maybe you hear the wind howling in the background. We have a really big storm. It's probably lasting for 3 days. It's hitting the boat from the sides. My boat is shaking. I'm about to get seasick while being in a harbor. And it's really difficult to work. You need all that maintenance. You have that little space.
Sure.
Maintaining your business without any routine or office to go to is sometimes difficult, and you have a lot of insecurities. So if you think happiness is once I have a certain mindset, once I have a certain amount of freedom, once I have a certain amount of money, and then I'm happy, that will not be the case. Happiness is a place to come from. It's not a place to go to. You will never reach it. Either you create it inside of you. And currently, so last year, like everything I touched last year did not work out and ruined me financially completely. And I got betrayed, and I got money stolen, ripped, and a safari company I had to close down, and all of that because of mistrust and betrayal. So that last year was really horrific for me.
Right.
And still, I managed to come out of the year quite strong, centered, happy with myself, because I know, okay, all that money that I lost last year, well, it's gone anyway. It doesn't help if I'm angry about that every single day. What if today was the first day of the rest of my life? What would I do? Well, I would go out there, coach people, try to sail to nice places, have as many friends as possible on board, and enjoy life. And right now, I'm doing exactly that, because I know I will not be happy when I reach the Caribbean. So I would like to take the happiness inside of me with me. And there's one situation right about New Year's when I took the decision that I had to let go of my company in Tanzania. I had a safari company at Kilimanjaro. And I decided that I let go of that. And I became very sad about that. Yeah. And then I was thinking why I'm so sad. And I remembered all these times that I was sitting there on my motorbike and going through these dust roads without the helmet, through the banana plantations, and just having the biggest smile in my face. And then all of a sudden you see mighty Kilimanjaro behind some palm trees. And
Wow.
that view just made me stop and admire the wonder of the world every single time. And I
Yes.
realized, well, Kilimanjaro is still there. All these places are still there.
Yes.
It's my ability to be able to have that curiosity like a little child and just go
Yes.
through the world with that openness and that laughing curiosity where you're welcoming stuff in your life. And I decided that I want to take that smile and that happiness and that ease with me wherever I go. And that was the final chapter of last year.
Mm.
And that's quite interesting because there was a lot of external stuff that happened to me that
Yep.
made my life miserable
Yep.
last year.
Yep. Yep.
And I was looking for an external solution. Although I'm doing all that coaching and I'm
Yep.
writing
And
all
you're
of that
helping.
stuff,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
still, and a friend of mine, he always says, Flo, welcome to the human experience. It happens to every guru out there. And this
Yeah.
is something that I want to give to your audience. If you say, okay, Flo is able to do that because of the circumstances, no. And I'm facing the same struggles.
Yes.
And if I can, and I know if I can do that, you can do as well.
Absolutely.
It is a decision.
I like I say, Flora, I very much appreciate that intentionality that you have around your happiness. You said earlier it's a choice, and I wholeheartedly agree with you 100%. I also like the fact, you talked about it's not somewhere you go to, it's somewhere you come from. And I think when you frame it in that fashion, it helps you understand what needs to happen, what we need to do to get to that place. And then the last point that I want to touch on is sort of the perspectives of life, right? That human experience that you talked about, that it has its ups and it has its downs, and it's what we choose to do in those down moments is what determines how quickly we get back to those happy places, right? We can sit down and wallow and woe is me in my life, or we can make the choice, which is your word, right? Make that choice to elevate ourselves to get back to that place of happiness in full recognition that there will be points where we come down again, but we also
And
have that
this
choice.
that is the stupid thing about life is that we enter this world as a blank sheet.
Yes.
And we don't know anything.
Right.
And if we want to evolve, it will always be try and error.
Yes.
And if there are things that you just happen to make or to do the right way, you will not know that you do it the right way because you never got the feedback.
Right.
So if you want to grow as a human person, you have to come to an edge. You have to leave your comfort zone. So outside the comfort zone is where the magic happens.
Yes.
It's also where you get beaten up.
Yeah.
But by getting beaten up and having that learning experience, you can grow as a person and develop a new set of behavior to deal with that situation.
Absolutely. I just love the fact of going through an experience. Okay, I've got this thing that I'm going to go after, Florian, and this is what I'm going after, and it doesn't work out. Well, okay, yeah, it didn't work out the way you had intended, but what's happened? Let's look at this. Okay, you walked away with a lesson, right? You now have an understanding of the situation. That lesson and that understanding has now equipped you to be able to respond accordingly if and when it happens again. The other thing that comes out of that is that same lesson that you have, you can now give it to someone else. You can now help others. You can now show them the way through your own experiences. And so when you sort of frame it that way, how bad is it really? What we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, it is. It can be really, really bad, and that is the frustrating thing about it. I hate it. I hate failures. I do not like to cry. I do not like to be sad. I do not like to lose people. And I would like to have a life where everything is easy and I'm happy every day. But guess what?
That's
If
not
it's
life.
easy and without any obstacles for too long, then somehow life is getting dull because you're not growing as a human being anymore. And I think the magic about that is if you can balance that better, so that you are not having too many learning experience, but that you have a learning
Right.
experience, but
Right,
that you
right,
can
right.
embody it.
Because sometimes you
And
don't want to learn anything, right? I'm okay. I don't want to learn
yeah,
today.
yeah. So right now, I'm happy. I'm happy with not learning. Right now,
Yes.
I have my mind is very full. I had a lot to process. I'm just getting in my creativity me again,
Yep.
and I'm writing more, and I'm producing
Lovely.
more, and I'm coaching more,
Lovely.
and that is I'm happy with that. That's fine. I mean, I will have my learnings when I'm out on the Atlantic.
I do want to go back to the point you made around our comfort zones and why and the things that happen or can happen to us when we leave that. It's interesting because you simply say comfort. That's supposed to be a good place. That's supposed to be a great place. That's supposed to be a wonderful place. But it can be very detrimental if we get too comfortable, can it?
I cannot talk for everybody.
Yep.
And still, if I look at babies, they all, I mean, if you don't leave your comfort zone, you will zip the milk and
Right.
shit your pants for the rest of your life. You will never
Right.
evolve.
Right.
And there is a point when a baby is going without the diapers, and then every once in a while there's a mistake, and you get the feedback because all of a sudden that brown stuff is everywhere. So that baby left their comfort zone because all
Yes.
of a sudden it doesn't have to wear that sweaty diaper. Um, they start walking, they start moving, they start walking, they start talking, and with that talking, all of a sudden they get feedback, and they may say the wrong things. So all the kids are constantly leaving their comfort zone,
Yes.
and the comfort zone might be something to go back to every once in a while. So you poke your nose out, and maybe it's working out, maybe not, but you can go back. Just don't stay there.
Mm.
And the amazing part about that, poking your nose out every once in a while, is that your comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Ah, that's a fantastic point.
There was a point I was super afraid in the dark, and I was super afraid on my own.
Okay.
So exactly 10 years ago, in April 2013, I went to the Saharan desert with a backpack by foot, and I left at the last town, and I asked the people how long I have to walk in which direction until I find water.
Okay.
And then I was walking for several days on my own in the Saharan desert, and all of a sudden I was alone, and it was dark, and that transformed my life because that has these thoughts never crossed my mind again.
Right.
And I mean, if you're living out at the sea at anchor alone on the boat, I mean, everybody can just stop by, come into the boat, it's always open. These were things that I was quite scared of a while ago, and now I feel comfortable because I know how much I can trust myself.
Mm.
The big problem about that for me is that I used to be scared from the little things, and I got rid of them all in my life, and now I'm feeling quite comfortable in most situations. But I'm still poking my nose out of my comfort
Yes.
zone.
Yeah.
And if something happens now, it's getting really dangerous really quick. So the amount of beating up just got worse, got worse
Yeah.
and worse and worse.
Yeah.
But for most, the way that I can maneuver through life is gives me a huge flexibility of freedom, because I'm just not scared in most situations.
I really like that point around poking your nose and how that can expand your comfort zone and expand, the what you're exposed to, what you experience,
Hmm.
or even what you know. And so when and it fits so nicely into the whole theme of this podcast, right? Being audacious, taking that step. Okay, you don't know what's around the corner, you're not sure, but you go anyways, right? And if it doesn't work out, then you've learned that lesson, you can proceed. So it's and having that courageousness and being bold enough to, these are all important aspects of our own overall growth and development, because we can move ourselves and as you said, expand our comfort zone.
Yeah. And what is really, what I personally believe to be really important for your listeners is to not compare to me or to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I am comparing myself to like the great sailors of this world, and I think I'm so small and I'm never as brave as they are. But if I compare me to the younger version of myself,
Sure.
I've come a long way. And every single one of us is how do I put that? Is on this earth to go their own path. You get
Yes.
your own
Yes.
obstacles, and
Yes. We're
your
on our own journey.
life,
We're on our own journey.
yes,
We're taking our own journey.
and your life looks like it does only from your perspective. From the outside, you can always see different aspects of life, but it only feels the way it does to yourself. And so the amount of money or the amount of responsibility or the jobs that you have is nothing to compare to somebody else. It's just
Right.
a question. Does it fit your journey that you're supposed to have while you are here? And make it clear it is a journey. You,
Yes.
every single, in 100 years, every single person listening to this podcast will be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a finite game. And it's, the end is clear. You will be, you cannot take anything with you. You'll leave this world empty-handed
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So the ultimate goal in life is already set. You'll be dead.
Yes. We know.
The
We know what
question
we know.
is
We
not
know what
how
the
much,
script is, right? We
yeah.
know we know where the end is. Looking like I.
So and the game is not about what do you have when you go. The question is, what do you fill it with while you're here?
Mhm.
And when you, and I struggle totally with that because I'm a goal-orientated person.
Sure.
So I'm always having this goal and I'm unhappy as long as I'm not, as long as I didn't reach the goal. And then I reach the goal and it's gone. All of a sudden I don't have a goal anymore. So I'm
Right.
helpless. And if you manage to enjoy the journey, and there's a sailing metaphor that I like, when you're using a compass, then you are on a certain course and you can check whether you're on course or not. And eventually you will reach a new destination, but it's about keep moving on the right course. And when you find out what your compass in life is, what are the experiences that you want to have and what do you want to fill your life with, then
Right.
all of a sudden, all these goals can still be there. But the fun part is the journey towards these goals.
I love it. I love it. Florian, I think you're bang on, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And all of these things that we're talking about lead to our ultimate happiness and our joy, and we can, and it's
Mhm.
so achievable. It's like right there in front of us, right? If we take that step. So I super appreciate you leaving with those insights. One last thing I wanted to touch on, and this is very more. Want to give an opportunity for our listeners to sort of hear some sort of practical things that we can do when we talk about chasing this happiness or taking that first step. What would you say that individual that's sort of on that cusp and they've got that decision making, they got that indecision make? Do I stay or do I go? Do I step forward? Do I not? What are a thing or some things that they can do to help them with that decision making process?
Yeah. Imagine we meet again in 15 years, somewhere on a beautiful white beach, some nice ocean, having a bonfire, clear sky during the night. You can see all the stars. We're sitting together.
Yep.
And I'm asking you, hey, what have you done the last 15 years? What's the story you want to tell me? And then, with everything you do tomorrow, ask yourself, is that what you're doing, is that what you're doing, and that what you're owning, and that what you're going for? Is that bringing you a step closer towards that story? Yes or no?
Back we are here on the podcast, and thanks so much to Florian for being here, and sharing your insights. Life is a journey of constant growth and evolution. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone, embracing challenges, and finding happiness in the present moment. Florian's story of transformation reminds us that true fulfillment comes from within, and that the path to happiness is paved with self-discovery and courage. To learn more about Florian and explore the principles of living a simple and happy life, be sure to connect with him directly. Contact details, of course, as always, will be found in the show notes for this episode. I thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Audacious Living podcast. Certainly, if you've enjoyed this episode, like, follow, and maybe share with a friend. Certainly helps our podcast to grow and reach more listeners. Together, let's inspire each other to live audaciously and make the most out of every single moment. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.